All right, I have here the key to a 2020 Toyota Supra that has just been parked on the side of my house now for like 2 hours. Haven't even sat down in it yet. There it is. And I thought I would go for a little drive and record my first impressions. So here we go. That's a BMW sound. Okay, all right. So let's get this thing. This is a tiny cabin. Let's get this thing situated. Actually, let me show the interior a little bit. So yeah, this is not your typical Toyota interior. You probably all know why. But nonetheless, it's really nice. It's pretty heavy on the black. Seats are pretty nicely bolstered, grippy. Here's your infotainment screen. Again, not an infotainment screen that's in any other Toyota. 2 seats, excuse that. So just a 2-seater. The Mark IV Supra was actually a 2+2. This one's just a 2-seater, which I'm fine with. I don't think anyone's really missing those 2 extra seats. And it's actually pretty practical because you can access the cargo area from the driver's seat. So that's nice. Got a, I don't know if this is structural or not, but I think, yeah, you can get a cargo cover for the back. So kind of practical, and it is a hatch. So the rear trunk opens like a full hatch. So surprisingly practical. All right, yeah, that covers that. Let's get to the driving. Okay, I think that'll work. Cool. Yeah, pretty deeply bolstered seats. Yes. All right, HVAC, kind of warm in here. Let's get that turned down. Okay. So automatic transmission, whatever. Manual might be fun, but the automatic's pretty good. In terms of shifting quickly, there's no match. All right, let's just do a rev real quick. All right, sounds pretty good. Drive. Okay. All right, and we are off. Oh my goodness, this ceiling, this roof is super low. So I'm gonna go drive up Parley's Canyon. If you're at all familiar with the Salt Lake City area, I'm gonna drive up Parley's Canyon, but I'm gonna turn off and head down Emigration Canyon. I think that'll give us a good mix of city driving early on, highway driving in the middle, and then tight canyon driving to finish things off. So I will admit, I have driven one of these before, but circumstances were not ideal. It was a pre-production model, and it was during this rally event that was held by one of the companies that handles the press fleets. Jeez, oh my god. Okay. It was held by one of the companies that handles the press fleets, so it was like, I think 6 or 7 or 8 different vehicles that we, over the course of 2 days, drove from Denver, Colorado down to Durango, Colorado. And I drove the Supra in the snow in the San Juan Mountains between Ouray and Silverton, in the snow, like on the most treacherous part of the $1 Million Highway. So I've technically driven this car before, but I didn't really get to drive it. And then funniest part was it actually ran out of oil about 2/3 of the way through the drive. It was a pre-production model. Things like that happen, so I had to be really gentle with it toward the end. Green light. Jeez. Oh my god, this thing is so fast. This thing is ridiculously fast. I'm just coming from a 2020 Lexus LC, and while that looks like a sports car, it's only kind of sporty. It's more of a grand tourer. And it was a hybrid, so on paper it had similar power to this, but this thing is nuts. It's nuts. It is really, really fun. So there's a sport button right here. We'll press that in a few minutes. Let's just drive it under normal default settings right now. All right, I'm behind a U-Haul van right now, so there's not really much I can do. Car sounds really cool. Here we go. Jeez. It throws you back. I realize I'm probably used to driving with my head off the headrest, and my neck hurts because on those hard accelerations, it wanted to throw my head back. So yeah, this is one where you've just got to ride with your head up against the headrest because it's going to get snapped back. So you've got paddle shifters, 8-speed automatic. Dyno tests have shown that this thing's underrated by about 50 horsepower. So I think it's rated at like 335, and it actually makes something like 380 if you actually put it on a dyno. So that's nice. All right, coming out onto I-80 here. This thing is crazy fast. Wow, and it feels fast. It doesn't feel like Miata small, but it doesn't feel like a sports sedan or something that's bigger. And I keep losing my camera. There we go. I think that should say. Excuse the hand in the shot there, but I'm in the right lane right now. Let's try to get into the left lane. This car's crazy fast. Okay, let's put it into sport mode and see if anything changes. So, sport. So the revs just jumped. Oh yeah. This cabin is really tight. I mean, like in the literal sense, it's like it's kind of tight in here. You sit really low down. Decent visibility. It's nice to have this big window behind you, but like visibility behind the B pillars over my right and left shoulders here is basically par for the course for the fastback body style. Your sight lines are kind of blocked back here. So this is a 2020 model. It's not the 2021 model that has slightly different tuning and a slightly higher, at least quoted, power figures. Steering wheel's small, kind of narrow. Again, this car, it's designed, engineered, and built by BMW. I doubt Toyota had really much influence on it. I'm sure they were involved in some of the like track testing of it, but in terms of day-to-day development, I doubt they played much of a role. I think it was called the FT1 concept from like 5 or 6 years ago. Previewed the final design of the Supra, but that was before Toyota knew that it would be working with BMW and that it would be building the final product on a BMW platform. So that FT1 design has more of the lines of what you think of when you think of the Mark IV Supra, like the body and the proportions and everything adhered more to the Mark IV Supra's body and proportions. And then when they... Jeez. Then they had to take that FT1 concept design and then fit the design and the styling around BMW's platform. And I have to think that's why the proportions on this car look a little off compared to what you think of when you think of like the Mark IV Supra and the Supra profile and everything. But I'm over it. This car's amazing. This car is super fun. It's kind of weird to be manually shifting an 8-speed transmission. When you're using a 6-speed, you can expect a really big jump and a really big change in like performance and RPMs when you go down a gear. But with an 8-speed, when that's one of 8, the differences between the gears is a lot smaller, and that's great for fuel economy and like just general peakiness of the engine. There's usually a more ideal gear for any situation than there is with fewer gears like a 6-speed. But the drawback there is when you're shifting gears with an 8-speed transmission, you downshift one gear and the car really doesn't change all that much, especially compared to what you give it a 6-speed. Okay, nobody around. Oh yeah, it's really easy to break the rear tires loose. Really easy. I barely hit the gas there. There's that burble. Seats are comfortable. Bolsters are nice and high. I have very little room to move to either side, and they're narrow. They're narrow enough for me. I'm like 150 pounds, and I have very little wiggle room laterally in these seats, thanks to good bolstering. Seat bottoms are similar. Yeah, I can kind of relax my legs pretty comfortably, but they're definitely nicely bolstered there too. Pretty decent interior. There is a trim piece along the center console that kind of goes up over the driver's knee, over your right knee a little bit. If you had super long legs, your knee might knock into that piece right there, but it's padded. Oh yeah, it's downshifting aggressively as I roll down this off ramp here. But yeah, it's padded pretty nicely, so I think only abnormally tall people, like people of like 6'4", 6'6", might feel a little bit cramped in here, but it's pretty good, I think. So I think when I get to the mouth of this canyon, I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see where I'm driving. Actually, let's just do that right now. Oh yeah. All right, so we've captured the early emotions of getting behind the wheel of the new, I guess it's about a year old at this point, but it's given that the old one last was sold in 1998 of the new, I think we'll call this new for a while, of the new Supra. So there we go. Okay, now we're off. That was 3rd to 4th to 5th. I've said it several times before, but this car is very fast. Okay, the turn for the canyon is just up here on the left. Okay. Coming up on the twisties here. And like I said, this is my first time sitting down behind the wheel of this one since it's been on loan to me. So I haven't really played with any of the suspension or drive mode settings. All I've done is put it into sport mode, which we are in right now. It's the 2nd gear, probably a little low. Here we go. We're in 3rd. Jeez. Okay. It goes from slow to very fast in a very short period of time. Here we go, downshift. Yeah, a more skilled driver could pretty much drift around this turn. Steering is really tight, really responsive. This is a car that you've really got to ignore the numbers, the stats. You've got to ignore, the question of who actually developed and built it, regardless of what emblems appear on it, and you've got to drive it. It's another one that looks a lot better in person than it does in photos. Photos don't really do it justice. Yeah, this is an exceptional vehicle. I really like it. I'm not a race car driver, so I have a hard time speaking to the finer points of vehicle performance, but all I can tell you is that I'm having a ton of fun right now. And jeez. Yeah, so I think we're coming to our final turn here. I'm just gonna pull off here and give some final thoughts on the new Supra, at least final first impressions. Okay, so Supra, yeah, this thing's pretty great. This is day one for me. I've got it for 6 more days, so I'll do a more in-depth look at it. We'll look at some of the features. Yeah, so there is your first look at the emotions and the excitement that someone experiences when they first get down behind the wheel of the new Supra, because it's a fun car. Thanks.